Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, we celebrate Nintendo as shared culture with indie developer Neil Sarkar. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, joined as always by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing good. I'm holding a little bit of a grudge. I meant to tell you this. On my way here, I followed the directions from Google Maps to try to get me to evade traffic, but I am skeptical that they actually took me on the better route. I feel like if I had gone a different way, there would have been less traffic, but they have the game rigged because I will never know.
You will never know. There's no way to go back and live that exact same experience again. Were you coming from your house?
No, I was coming from work.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I do think that Google Maps has probably affected traffic patterns, that people now use routes that Google was like, oh, you should use this route. It's faster because not that many people take it. And now everyone takes it. I think it's one of those you change the result of the experiment by observing it. I think that's what Google Maps is doing.
I think that is definitely true. I mean, have you ever been like following Google Maps and then you're taking some strange side street or like a street you normally wouldn't take off the beaten path and you see other people
looking down at their phone while they're driving
doing the same exact thing.
Yes,
exactly.
So we're all irresponsible. I think that goes without saying, but if you would like to be a responsible consumer of this podcast, one thing that we would appreciate is a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. We can really only see it if it's on Apple Podcasts in the US store. But if you're rating or reviewing us somewhere else, shoot us an email. Let us know that happened.
Yeah, especially if you want some guest weather.
That's right. We're not doing guest weather anymore unless someone tells us A, to do it, and B, what area of the world to do it about. We have grown lazy in our old age. But you can hit us up with an email at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com. Or, tweet at us or whatever. I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell, and the show is at Nincart Society. Did I forget my own last name? What happened there?
Or did you forget that there was an underscore?
I know, and I love underscores, so I don't think that I forgot it. But maybe I did. Mark, what else can people do with that email address?
You can send us your vote for favorite Pokemon starter.
Yes, we are going to be recording an episode on June 7th is when it's coming out, and we are going to determine once and for all which is the best Pokemon to start.
Out of all of them.
All generations are involved here. If you like that little green owl guy, great. If you like that little green other thing that's little and green. Look, Mark and I aren't great at Pokemon. So
that's why we need your help.
That's why we need your help. And we will be more carefully researched when the episode draws nearer. But we still need your help. Otherwise, you can almost guarantee it's going to be some like dumb Gen 1 Pokemon, right? I'm going to say like Charmander, and everyone's going to be like, real original, Patrick. We need your input. So tell us who the best Pokemon starter is, and email that to Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. Also, maybe you want to get on a list to borrow my copy of Sonic Forces should it ever return to me. I don't know that it ever will, but maybe someday we will see Sonic Forces again.
I meant to buy a copy so we could continue this, but I forgot. It's on my list of things to do, so that increases your chances of this program continuing.
Great, and then we will just lose another copy to the U.S. mail system?
Yes, of course, because it is no fault.
Oh, no.
A listener.
That's right. I refuse to believe that anyone would take advantage of us. We're nice guys. Borrow my copy of Sonic Forces or Mark's copy of Sonic Forces. We may have to change the copy for this one. All right, Mark, enough of that nonsense. Let's get into our main topic of the show, which is a conversation with our friend Neil Sarkar, who's got a great story to tell about his relationship to games and development and Nintendo specifically. So without wasting any more time, let's get into it.
All right, joining us this week is my friend. I've known Neil for, I guess, like 4 years now. Indie developer Neil Sarkar. Thanks for joining us, Neil.
Yeah, thanks for coming on and talking about games with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. So, indie game developer. Let's start there and what that means.
Sure.
What are you working on a game right now? Where are you in this process?
Yeah, so I guess it's like I'm working on a game. I'm working on a game right now.
Damn right, you're working on
this
a game.
This whole weekend, I worked on a game. I met a composer. So I worked in tech for like 15 years, and then I quit my job and moved to Portugal to build an app a month with my friend who I worked with at Tinder, which was my most recent job. He was on my team. He was the surfer, and he was like, we got to get out of this corporate bullshit. Like, we got to, and I had that feeling too. I was like, I'm not like living the life that I want to be living,
Yeah.
And we went out to Portugal. It was very eye-opening. I realized that it's really, really hard to market an app. A thing that I had never thought about was marketing. I was always like, what are all the marketing people doing? Like, product engineering is all that matters. I was wrong. Did all the engineering. It didn't work out. But the last thing we made was a game. And that really put me in touch with like something deep from like my childhood. When I think about my childhood, I'm like, it's hard for me to have like a coherent narrative or memories of anything like up until puberty, But then when I think about games, I can tell you like
all
exactly
the way back.
I can tell you like from Mario 1 up to like, Bond on N64. Like I can tell you exactly what I was doing and what I was playing and like in what order. And
so this may be a fun game. Where were we all when we first played Super Mario Brothers 1 the first time? Do you know, Mark? Do you know where you were?
I am assuming it was when we got an NES for Christmas, and we got one. It was pretty late in the NES's life. I think it was like around 90, 91. It was that pack that came with one cartridge that had world-class track and field on it.
Oh,
Duck Hunt.
Is it world-class track meet?
Track meet, that's what it is. And
with
then,
the power pad.
And Mario Brothers. And it came with the zapper, the power pad, all that stuff. So I'm pretty sure that was the first time that I'd played it at all, because I didn't really have any friends or anything that
had it.
There's more to that sentence that had a Nintendo. I was very young.
Neil, where were you?
I was also likewise at home. We didn't get it for Christmas because my parents didn't believe in gifts, but they did believe in randomly getting us stuff. So I remember my dad picked it up from Gristedes, like the supermarket that was right near us, and he plugged it in, and my brother started playing. And yeah, I pretty much watched my brother play the first level and played a little bit of it myself, and I was just like struck immediately by it. It was like it's not my first memory, but it's one of the clearest early memories. Like, it was just like, oh, this is interesting to me.
Yeah. I was at a friend's house. I don't think like I was really that close friends, with this person, but it was just like, their mom was essentially babysitting me.
Yeah.
And they had to like have the TV. I don't know why this would be true, but she told me it was true, that they had to like have the TV on and warmed up for like half an hour before they could play games on it.
For half an hour?
Or like an hour. I don't remember. It was something to stall me, I'm sure, from being like, I want to play this Mario game. And then it just being on this, old TV, and just also just like being like spellbound by it, right? And not really knowing how to deal with just running Mario across the screen.
Yeah, well, thinking about it now, knowing everything I know now about how computers work, I was like a software engineer by trade. Like, it's amazing that someone looked at an 8-bit system and was like, how can we make art out of this? Like, everyone else was just like, how do we turn this into a business machine? Like IBM, International Business Machines, right? And the fact that someone in Japan, like a country that I couldn't even conceive of at that time, was able to like successfully ship an art box to a supermarket near me, it changed my life.
Well, that's so funny too that you said that your dad picked it up at the supermarket. Like that I that's obviously not like where you would get a video game console now, but like there weren't video game retailers at the time. GameStop didn't exist. That we come from like a world before this was normal, before video games were like a regular part of everyone's lives.
Totally. It was like 5 years before even like Funko Land. Do you remember Funko Land?
Oh, I remember Funko Land. That's where I got my copy of Chrono Trigger that I still have on the shelf over there.
Wait, so you gamed a lot as a kid?
Yeah.
And then as you grew up, did you continue to game, or was there like a fallow period in your life where you had no purpose because you weren't playing video games?
That's a great question. No, that's like pretty much accurate. Like when we made that game in Portugal, I was just like, wait a second, why have I not been? How did I lose I like lost the plot of my life? Like when I refound it and I was making a game, I was just like, wait a second. Now all of a sudden, everything that I'm doing makes sense. Like everything from like how I look to like the fact that I'm out in Portugal on my own, like doing this thing, like all of it makes sense if I'm a game developer and I'm just like, I'm allowed to be like more of a weirdo. And it doesn't make sense if I'm a tech titan. Like if I'm like the next Elon Musk, like my plot was not making sense. So it's like
then you're the wrong kind of weirdo.
yeah. And so there was a fallow period because, well, my mom did not, we've talked about this extensively since then, but she was very disconcerted by like how into the Nintendo I was. And it was at first like the hours were limited, and then the hours were like super limited, and then I like climbed into the attic to get it, and that was really dangerous. And then she did a really dramatic gesture of pouring water on it in front of me.
That is dramatic.
Like I was 7 or something. I mean, it could have disappeared, and I don't understand where things come from or how commerce works. Like I have no shot at getting another Nintendo or ever knowing what happened. But like to destroy it in front of me, I was like, wow, okay.
She was making a point.
Yeah, she could just been like, our time with the Nintendo is over.
Yeah.
Like it's going to live with a nice family upstate.
Yeah, where all the other Nintendos are. Yeah. But so after she destroyed it, I pretty much sought out friendships based on who had like what the newest systems.
Yes.
And I played. So gaming was always a social experience to me because I was always playing on someone else's TV, like with their mom babysitting me. That's much. Right. And so that continued throughout high school. In college, I almost failed out because of Halo 2. That was senior year. I did kind of fail out, but then I got back in.
So Halo, I want to get back to failing out and then getting back in, but Halo 2 in like a college environment, because I'm guessing we're probably basically the same age, but that Halo 2 and college, Halo and Halo 2 and college for me are one big like weird messy melting pot of like everyone playing together all the time.
Definitely.
Like and either you're actually plugged into it or like you're just next to it and like it's a huge part of your life and you just know everything about Halo even when you're not playing.
Yeah.
Mark, did you have that experience?
Yeah, I was I've always been terrible at Halo.
Yeah, me too, but I played a bunch of it.
Yeah, you're just
college.
sitting there and the controller just gets passed to you.
Yeah.
And you have to play.
Yeah.
Right.
It's social currency.
Right, and you're not as bad as Doug. So like
Doug
no
was
one
terrible.
can be.
No, Doug was so bad. We're always like Doug's off in the corner picking daisies, we always said. Hey Doug. He's not listening to this. But so like it got into kind of like addiction levels for you almost, or
well, there were plenty of other addictions that were more addiction level things than the games were just like a part. It's just I was definitely playing a lot of that and Smash Brothers and Counter-Strike, but I was terrible at Counter-Strike. I still am terrible at any mouse-based first-person shooter, which is weird because I play a lot of Overwatch now. But so I didn't really lose it then, but I definitely wasn't thinking about going, it as a career. It was just like a fun distraction that I was doing. And I actually I was lucky enough to have an extra year at college and they offered like literally the last semester that I was in college, they offered a class called Video Game Design and Development. And then I almost failed out again because I spent all of my time working on just this class and making a game. So we built a game for this class. And actually, funny story, one of my teammates on that, he later, like a couple years ago, created a game called Hyper Light Drifter.
Oh, yeah.
Which just won a bunch of like IGF awards.
Yeah, that's
like
awesome.
a year ago,
and is I think coming to Switch at some point in the future.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Mark,
doing a plug
Mark there with the
Doing
new
a plug.
releases. Yeah.
Yeah. You guys should all play my friend's game Hyper Light Drifter on the Switch when it comes out for that for sure. But yeah, so that really like, you know, I really caught the bug then when I was just like, oh, you know, like I really care about making a game. Like that's
Yeah.
what I want to do. Like now all of a sudden, like everything started to make sense to me. When before I was like, why are people studying? Like why is anyone pretending that they care about any of this school stuff? You know,
Right.
like why is everyone doing a good job at stuff? Like
you
who
just didn't know
cares?
that you could care about something yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Totally. I remember I was walking around the street and I was like looking at buildings, you know, I was like 20 and I was looking at buildings and I was like, whoa, someone cared enough to make this building. Like suddenly I was like, oh, there's creations all around me. I just never cared to create anything because I was like always, you know, into games.
Yeah.
And it never occurred to me I could create them.
What can you tell me about that game that you made in for your college class?
Sure. I'd be really happy to actually because it was pre-Minecraft and technically
They ripped you off? Is that what you're saying?
technically, yeah, our idea was it was nowhere near as well executed as Minecraft, but our idea was just that, you know, you're 4 people who are, or it was a multiplayer like LAN game, which was surprisingly hard to do on, like I like coded that all in C++ for Windows. Like it was
wow.
crazy. The socket networking stuff was insane, but so it was multiplayer. And you are all on an island, and it's pretty much like last person standing, but you like go around and you harvest raw materials from the island to make weapons to fight each other pretty much, and then you fight each other.
Oh, so it's like a mix of the 2 biggest trends in gaming right now, which is a battle royale game and Minecraft.
Yeah,
You guys would have been cajillionaires. And it would have been so much better that it happened to you other than like rather than not.
Shout out to Notch.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
you
definitely
suck.
Shout out to Notch. Here's our obligatory shout out to Notch. He gets one every episode.
Yeah, I mean, we would have, but the game was not. It was not good. It was not good. The ideas were great. The execution, the combat was terrible.
Well, and I'm like, I wonder about, because like making a video game is obviously so labor and time intensive. And like, you know, we do a podcast here, and like, I don't know how many bad podcasts we needed to record before we started doing like good podcasts. So then like I kind of wonder like how many bad games do you need to like get out before like, you know, the real good stuff starts to come around. Do you feel like with that and the like the last game that you made and you're like do an app a month, do you feel like you're getting through, like are you like feeling good about where you are game development wise, or are you like where are you in that process?
Yeah, no, that's actually a great question, because yeah, doing the app a month thing, like the whole thesis behind that was it's pretty much from a creative standpoint, you know, you're supposed to take care of the quantity, and then like, you know, something, you could call it God, you could call it whatever you wanted to call it, will take care of the quality. That's like one of, you know, the creative mantras that people have. And games, I've always believed that tech is creative, but games are definitely fundamentally creative.
Yeah, sure.
And so I'm in this weird place with that where I've always thought of myself as being too late for stuff. Like I remember I was 12 and I was like, I want to learn to play guitar, but it's too late. I was like, yeah. So like, I've always sort of had that mentality. So like, I think a lot of what stopped me from, you know, pursuing the dream of making games is, oh, it's such a huge mountain to climb. And exactly what you're talking about. Like there's a 2 or 3 year, like I saw these amazing games at GDC a couple months ago. And every single indie developer I talked to was like, yeah, I've been working on this for like 3 years. I've just been like living in my parents' house, working on this thing. I'm 25 and, you know, this probably won't be the one that does it, but it'll be the next one. And it's like that mountain to climb of having, like a 2-3 year release cycle before you even know whether the thing you made was good or not, and trying to get to the point where like when we were shipping an app a month, we definitely got better faster than if we had just worked on one app the whole time, right?
Yeah.
So not having that quick feedback loop, that on top of just how many different disciplines go into it, like I definitely couldn't make a quality game on my own. Like right now, the game I'm working on, I'm partnered with a composer who went to Berkeley for music and has been drumming his whole life. Like he's like as good at the art of music as I am at the art of computer programming.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and it's obviously such like a collaborative medium too. Like you're programming, you maybe have artists and storytellers and musicians and all of that.
And that's like a whole other thing that you can't control. Like not only can you not really control the quality except for just how many times you do it, but you also can't control the chemistry between the teams. So it's like it's a completely saturated market at this point, especially to start as an indie developer. It's like financial suicide. It's so stupid. But what's great about it is like now, I'm 34, and in my mind, that's like, I have like 3 years or whatever until like
the grim hand of death.
Yeah, exactly. Like some arbitrary, like I have no idea why, but I'm just like pretty much like, okay, my entire Instagram feed is my friends having babies, so like I guess I missed the boat on that, and like soon someone will come pick me up and be like, okay, yep, this one didn't work out, like, you know what I mean?
This life goes back on the shelf.
This life is gone, and I went to GDC and saw all these 22-year-olds who are going to be so talented, and it's like, it's so hopeless that I can do it now. Like it's so hopeless that I'm
You've like broken through that wall.
Yeah, it's like impossible. And because it's impossible, I'm allowed to try. Whereas if it was possible, but like it was unlikely, I would be like, oh, if I try, I'm just going to fall flat on my face. And that uncertainty of knowing like, am I just going to try and look like an idiot and make, excuse me, and make terrible games, then like, that's daunting because like I don't know, but
I think I get it. Like there's one of the things that I feel like I'm saying all the time is that like adults are bad at learning things because we're not used to like going through the process of being bad at something, right? Kids are good at learning because all they do every day is be bad at something. All they do is suck. They don't know how to walk. They don't know how to eat. They can't talk to you. They can't express themselves. Everything they do is awful.
Yeah.
So like you put a violin in the child's hand and they don't mind that they sound terrible for years and years and years. You put a violin in an adult's hand and they will be furious that they don't sound good even after playing for months. Yeah. And I think the same thing is true where like in your 20s, you can have that little bit of like, I'm going all out. I'm going to like just try stuff. And like, I feel like you have more, I don't know, like room to fail or like willingness to fail, or I don't know what it is.
It's a certain fearlessness. I feel like when I moved to Portugal, I started looking into how to best learn a language.
Yeah.
And pretty much like, there was this one thing that I saw where this person, they've learned like 10 languages. They're like a total polyglot. And they were like, literally the only thing you have to do is make as many mistakes as you can per day. And the reason that, exactly what you said, the reason that adults aren't good at learning languages is because a kid is immersed by default, right? They don't have their own language. But also like every day they're better at, like they have nothing to lose, right?
Yeah.
And like you have to have that attitude that you have nothing to lose, even if you think you have things to lose, like you really don't, like like you don't. You can't look good and get better at the same time.
Yeah, which isn't it?
It's a nightmare.
It is.
It is a living nightmare.
Yeah.
Because I want to look good so badly.
We all just want to look good.
Well, but so you've been working as a programmer for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm wondering how like you're finding the transition from doing programming for apps or whatever into games. Like, is that an easy transition, or is there a lot of like relearning or like teaching yourself?
Totally. So that's a great question because I feel very happy about my answer to that. So this past weekend, like I finally quit all of my contracting jobs. Well, except for one.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. I'm just I'm finishing one last one, but like this weekend I was just like, it was just Mark came over, my collaborator came over in the morning. We went for a walk, talked about a game, and then I just sat down and programmed stuff on Unity, which is the engine that we're using. Did that for pretty much all of Saturday and maybe half of Sunday. And we now have like a playable prototype. And also, like while I was doing it, so I don't know if any of this is going to make sense, but
try us.
I had a really good sensibility for which parts of the language and of the environment to learn and which parts to ignore. Like if you have to cut corners all the time when you're programming, and it's all about knowing which corners to cut and which corners you cut will bite you in the future. And so, like, for the most part, I would just do the quickest thing I could do to get something to work. But there was one thing in particular where there were two game objects that needed to know. Sorry. It's like a rhythm game pretty much. And so the score element needed to know that the thing that the player is controlling had collided with a note, right? But the logic for the collision is inside of the script that is encapsulated in the player, right? And I spent the majority of the development time researching every possible way that I could communicate from an embedded game object to another game object somewhere else in the hierarchy, because in every website, like I've done, there's many different frameworks for making websites, and I've used like a ton of them, like Backbone, Angular, React, my own custom thing, Rails, jQuery, like all of these different things. And in every single one of those, that specific problem of how to communicate information between two unrelated elements of a hierarchy, that problem has always led to doing it wrong, has always led to a nightmare, and doing it right has, like, taking the time to do it right has always been like really satisfying, and led to like a scalable good system. And so I literally researched every possible way to do it, and more than researched, I like implemented within sort of like a sandboxed environment. I implemented every single one, figured out the trade-offs, actually benchmarked them to see which one would be, like if any of them would have like performance implications. Like I just ran it like 10,000 times and was like, okay, C# events are way faster than Unity events, for example. And then, by the end of it, I was like, okay, we're using C# events, and that'll let us like do this wherever we need to do it. And like that kind of thing. And also, that's an example that might not have made any sense.
No. I think that's a great example, and I even like a sort of relatable one to just like anyone working with any systems at all, right? Where like you've got one set of rules and like another set of rules, and those rules are going to have to talk to each other at some point. And that just having like the foresight and the experience working with websites to then also like put that into a game. I think it's a cool way to like frame what your experience is going into this. I want to hear more about what this rhythm game is.
Oh, sure.
I understand you're still early days.
No, I'd be happy to talk about it. I mean, I do think we, to get to your earlier question, like I have a version of it running on my phone right now. It's like after 2 days, like we're definitely trying to iterate quickly on it, and get feedback from people and stuff. And I do think it's a cool idea. So Mark and I, we did 2 sessions where each of us came to the table with 25 ideas, and it was great. Like we discovered that we have like a lot of idea chemistry. Like we were both really excited about each other's ideas, and like we kept like building on and combining stuff. And after we did that, we kind of took a step back, and like we each picked 5 of our favorites. And actually this one was my number 1, and it was his idea. And he didn't even have it on his list because he was like, I don't even think that we can do it. And I was like, oh, we can definitely do it. We should try. So it's a musical runner. So it takes, do you know what a music staff looks like written music?
Yeah, you bet.
So, okay, cool.
I was a music major in college.
Oh,
so,
cool. Yeah. So we take a staff, and right now we're using a sample track, which is like a Arctic Monkeys drum track.
Sure.
So it's a single instrument from a song, and a drum track is a great one to start with because you really only have 3 notes. You have like the hi-hat on top of the staff, the snare in the middle, and the kick on the bottom.
Yeah.
And so we have like 3 little, right now they're just little squares that like run along the runner. or run along the staff, and then as the notes come up, you have to jump over the notes. So you have like a different controller, and it's very basic right now. It's pretty much, if you've ever played the Impossible game or Mr. Jump.
Yeah, sure.
Or Mario Run. Yeah, Mario Run. Probably a much more relevant
to this show, yes.
Yeah. I promise.
I played so much Mario Run.
Yeah, no, so have I. I got all the black coins. That's like the final level, right? Or the purple coins?
Yeah.
I got all the coins. I definitely got all the coins.
I got all the coins too.
Yeah.
When they went back and like added more coins and more levels and challenges and stuff, I wasn't able to get all of those, but I was also sort of burnt out on it by then.
I was a little burnt out. I even did the competitive stuff for a while.
Yeah, me too.
Which is super fun.
I loved that game.
I love that game too. That game is it's an excellent first foray into. We can definitely bring this like more into Nintendo Town because of the podcast, but
it's whatever.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in this conversation that we're having.
Cool.
I'm very happy to keep talking about your game, but I mean if we want to I feel like this is a natural transition point to talk about like how you think Nintendo games have like informed what this is, or what sort of like your gaming sensibilities are.
Oh, I mean, they've defined them completely.
Yeah.
So another thing that I'm doing is I'm putting on like a game night here in LA, like a monthly thing to just have like kind of a community. I want to start like, getting kind of a community thing together. Like I'm not really happy with any of the meetups right now are great, but they're all kind of a little too like unorganized and small scale for like, I want to meet every indie game developer in LA, and I want to meet any enthusiast of games in LA. Like right after this, I'm going to go to the Belmont for like this thing. Everyone's like playing Smash Brothers over there and a bunch of other games like that. And so this LA game night thing, it was related to what you just asked me.
I asked you how Nintendo informs.
Yes. Yeah. So with this thing, my business partner was like, he's like, what rigs should we get? Like what systems should we get? And the first, like, I was like, okay, let me just think about like which ones have the best stuff. And I literally listed every version. Like I was like, well, okay, we have to have obviously like a Wii U for Smash Brothers Brawl, and then Super Nintendo, clearly the best pound for pound system ever created.
That's right.
And then, well, if we're gonna have those two Mario Karts, we also are gonna need like N64,
N64
plus
right?
NES is like the iconic thing. And so by the time I was done listing stuff, I was like, okay, I just listed every system that Nintendo has ever made, including Game Boy, because I was like, people, like, if you put me in front of Pokemon Red or Blue right now, I would just play it until I, like, slept through an exam once because I was playing a ROM of Pokemon Blue. It's really defined my understanding of what gaming is. Like, it's because it is fundamentally social, and they do design things like, the experience that I have had in my life with gaming, where it has like been a thing that I've connected with like friends and family with, and a thing that's like, they're like Disney, right? Like they appeal to the child in everyone, and it's completely inclusive. It's like not like if you walk around one of these like these gaming floors. I was at PAX East like a month ago, and I was just like, okay, the main floor, every AAA title is just like, it's like dark, like gritty, shooters, like clearly appealing to like this kind of like sort of idealized masculinity kind of thing. And like, it's like clearly some marketer being like, okay, 18 to 36 male, what do they like? They want to shoot things, they want the action, they want perfect graphics. And it's like, Nintendo just has this like universal appeal, and that's what I'm looking to do. Ultimately, like currently, my main goal is to make a Nintendo Switch game. It is not easy. You can't even get a dev kit unless you have a relationship or a successful game. So like literally the mountain that I'm climbing right now, the whole reason that I'm doing this, like I'm gonna butcher this, raison d'être.
Yeah, I think that's mostly right.
Yeah,
that's how I would butcher it too.
Great. Like my reason for existence right now is to make a Nintendo Switch title. Like that is what is driving me at all times. And so yeah, I would say it's informed me a little bit.
It sounds like informs you completely almost.
Yeah, I mean I do have there's like the Halo, Counter-Strike, Overwatch. Like I do have like. I love competitive games of any kind. But yeah, Nintendo really, that's where, like, Nintendo's where my heart is.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting that, like, in listing those other games, I guess Counter-Strike isn't this, but both Halo and Overwatch have, like, some more of that, like, colorful, like, fun element to it. I know Halo also has, like,
Halo,
a little bit
yeah.
But, like,
it's brighter.
Your main character's a dude in a green suit. I mean, like...
Yeah, I feel like Halo, when it started... had a little bit more sense of fun about the world than it slowly.
I haven't played the last 30 Halo games.
Yeah, so I pretty much dropped
so
off.
I don't know.
Too, also. But yeah, like those kind of things. But you're right about Overwatch. The cartoonish art style and the fact that it's a really small thing that I think most people don't think about, but they're really great about representation in that game.
Yeah,
there's it's not just a bunch of like
brown-haired white guys.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like the other thing about Overwatch versus other types of shooters, or really like other types of competitive games, is they have so many different characters that fit so many different play styles. So you don't have to be an ace first-person shooter player to enjoy playing Overwatch and like finding a character that works for you.
Totally. Arguably the best character at the meta level is you don't even aim, like Winston. You don't aim with Winston. It's just like if anyone's on the screen and you're hitting the mouse button, you're hitting them. Great.
I am also notoriously bad at... I don't know why I said notorious. Like anyone's keeping track of like how I am at games.
Everyone's just like Patrick.
Patrick is bad at first-person shooters. But I've always considered myself bad at them. But there are a bunch of... There's almost no way... like if you're actually like putting time into Overwatch that you won't find some way to have fun and be successful
and support your team. Yeah,
and support your team. Exactly.
It's very team based. Yeah, I love it.
Since you're working on a rhythm game, like what other kinds of like rhythm games? What are your favorite types of rhythm games?
Oh yeah, well the first one that comes to mind, the first one that I really really got into was Guitar Hero 2.
Yeah.
I played a lot of or maybe it was Guitar Hero 1. I'm trying to remember now. Which one had Matthew Sweet's girlfriend? There was like an early level, or also Cherry Pie.
That might be the first Guitar Hero.
It might have been the first.
Man, I don't know. Like 3 was.
It had Mother. Sorry, Woman. Woman. These are all like early ones. I have Freebird. Freebird.
Were they the actual tracks? Were they covers at this point? So if it's covers, it's probably the first 2. Because I think the third one was when they actually started.
That's where they started pulling out the stops and actually getting the.
Oh no, they were covers. They were covers for sure. It was either 1 or 2. Either way, that was great. The first.
I guess that makes sense. Like that's because that's still like college time.
Well, it was. I think that was right. Yeah, that was literally right after college. I just graduated, and I was like living in a bad apartment in Brooklyn that is now like one of the fanciest parts of Brooklyn.
That's what happened to Brooklyn.
That is what happened to Brooklyn. But yeah, so Guitar Hero 2 comes to mind, or 1 maybe comes to mind immediately. But also Parappa the Rapper.
Yeah, I love Parappa the Rapper.
Yeah,
I did. I tried playing it when they reissued it a couple, like a year ago now. At this point,
yeah,
I guess it was E3 last year, right?
Does it not? It doesn't hold up.
Like the songs are still great. The songs are still great. I still will sing "Kick Punch." It's all in the mind.
Oh yeah.
Like, I love the music from Parappa, but like, there's just something so like limiting about the gameplay,
the actual the inputs and stuff, especially with the rhythm games now. But yeah, I think rhythm games, they've been like I wouldn't say that they're my like main favorite type of game. Like it's not like my mission is to make a rhythm game on Nintendo. I'm just looking at what we have right now as a team, and it's like we have a music person and a programmer. And if we can use the art from written music, which is like, I'm still like, I don't know how to draw that oval for a note head. Like, terrified of the day when my task is going to be like, make the note heads more realistic. Like, I literally don't understand how Bezier curves work. But so, like,
you can just go the like hand drawn style and just
right,
like, just a little like slash.
It would take me 5 years to draw one. Oh, the hand drawn. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Oh, I could do that. That's a good idea. But yeah, so this is kind of like looking at. Well, one, I think we could have a lot of fun with a runner that's inside of a music staff. Like right now, we're just using a basic staff, and you're just like scrolling along it. But I think if the gameplay is fun enough, then we can really start to go like a little crazy. And, it's a game. Like, so you can be living inside the world of music. Like, we can do all kinds of cool stuff with like taking the challenges of learning. Because at the end of the day, it will be educational. Like, whether you know it or not, you're learning about drumming by playing this game for sure. And so we can make that a lot more fun. I'm like very interested in like the intersection of like education in games, especially for stuff that's not explicitly educational, because I do think that the only reason that I'm a programmer, which I really lucked out with career choice, it was not much of a choice. It was kind of an accident. But the only reason that I am that way is because a lot of early Nintendo games are essentially debugging someone else's code. Like Mega Man bosses, that's just a loop that someone else wrote, and you have to understand the loop in order to beat it.
Right, in order to exploit it.
Yeah, exactly. And so that mode of thinking taught me the fundamentals of computer programming before it was like 15 years before I ever took a class in that. So the educational side of it is interesting to me.
I think that's really, especially like in terms like where drumming is concerned, back to like Guitar Hero or a Rock Band, that the drumming in those games is always like an impossible hurdle to overcome. Like you have to understand how to move your hands like separately, and like then you've got a foot in there as well.
Totally.
That like there are all these steps that like that skips. You still have to like have those skills. But there's really no like educational component to that.
Right.
It just like throws you in and is like, now do this. And I feel like the same way with on a much smaller scale, but something like Taiko Drum Master or Donkey Konga, where it's just like, now do the thing without like teaching you how to do it. So it's cool that like this seems a little bit more like a like step by showing you how it's done.
Yeah, we're definitely thinking a lot about how to get someone into it, like maybe starting with a snare. Like we're actually thinking of it as starting it with like a skin of a platformer. So you think you're just jumping from like you're just in a runner, right? And there's no music, and you're just jumping along the rhythm of the thing, and then have that sort of like fade out into the staff, and then you're like, oh, I'm like in the music. That's
right,
pretty
and then
cool.
You're hearing the drum roll.
Yeah, exactly. I think that would be sweet. And then the other thing about rhythm games is I was just in Japan at the end of the year last year, and we should definitely talk about my pilgrimage to Nintendo, the Nintendo corporate office. We should definitely talk about that. But when I was in Japan, one of the things I was struck by is they have these arcades that are like a huge part of the culture there, and it's like a ton of pachinko machines in the basement, and then there's like a few fighters. Like Tekken 7 is really big there right now, and I played some of that. But for them, like the overwhelming number of machines are rhythm games. Like rhythm games are huge in Japan, massive. Like they're like the biggest arcade like industry, and so I'm like, okay, I want to understand more about this genre. It has never been my primary one. Also, our team makeup, it's perfect for that, and it's like an original concept using like an existing kind of like existing IP that is open, but that everyone already understands right off the bat, and it would look different than other stuff. Like,
well,
you have to think about that
to like tap into a visual vocabulary that already exists, that people, whether they have studied music or not, like are sort of innately familiar with, even if they can't tell you what note is what. They know that that's music.
Exactly. Like there's an emoji that represents our game. You know?
Well, and that's, I mean, what better? If there's an emoji for your game, you've already won.
Yeah, we don't need to do any marketing. Anytime anyone uses that emoji, it's pretty much free advertising.
Tell me about going to Nintendo in Japan.
Okay. Yeah. I'm so happy too, because I was in Japan for an entire month. I just went by myself. It was like the first time I've ever gone on an agenda-less vacation by myself, and it was like it was one of the best experiences of my life. It's really hard to condense it in the story into like, you know, one cohesive narrative, because I was staying 3 days at a time in each place. So like it was just it was like, you know, 8 different vacations all in one. And so usually when I tell people about it, I'll tell them about Naoshima, which is the art island, or I'll tell them about Kyoto and how like breathtaking everything is, or like Tokyo and how crazy and like fast paced, Osaka, the food, like all, you know, Hiroshima, the like moving, like peace, like it was incredibly moving. But when I really think back on it internally to like what I keep coming back to, like honestly, like the moment for me being in Japan was I had climbed, do you know the Orange Gate place? It's like a Inari Fushimi Tari something. I should really know what it's called, but there's an emoji for that too. There's an Orange Gate emoji.
Well, then we're halfway there.
Check it. Yeah.
I've probably accidentally used that emoji at
yeah,
some point.
Probably. It's like this mountain. Well, not a mountain. It's like a temple of some kind. They have hundreds of these torii gates. You might have seen, some of your friends might have Instagram profile photos with like a bunch of orange gates behind them. If you ever see them, they're great. It's a great place to go to. It's in Kyoto. And I was like, when you get to the top of it, you can see all of Kyoto, and or a lot of it. And you can also see like down below, almost directly in front of you, you can see the 2 Nintendo corporate offices. And I should back up. Before I did that hike, like right before, I had rented a bike, and I had like woken up that day with the express purpose of going to the Nintendo corporate offices, which was actually what drew me to Japan in the first place.
Sure.
When I was leaving Portugal after my business failed, I was like, well, I have nothing to do. What should I do? I have no idea. And I was like, I just made this game. It was inspired by Nintendo. I wonder what the Nintendo headquarters look like. And I Googled it, and everyone was like, don't go. You will be disappointed. It's just an office building. They will turn you like right around and be like, you don't work here.
It's not a magic chocolate factory.
It's not Disneyland. It's far from it. Like, don't go. And something about that, I was just like, I need to go.
Yeah,
like,
don't tell me what to do.
Yeah. Yeah, like this is, you know, it's like, there's something about it that like the fact that they won't give me a dev kit and that they have these like giant fences around this thing that I love.
Right. It only makes you want it more.
I want it so badly. I want it so badly. And so, yeah, this was like literally the reason for this month-long trip. And so I woke up, I biked over to get there like right around the time that people would be getting there, like 8:30 in the morning. And I have like a whole roll of, not that there's rolls of film anymore, but I have like a large section of my camera roll is just like creep shots from various, like, it's like 20 feet away from the fence. Like it looked like I was scouting the thing for a robbery.
Right.
Like it really did. And I was just, you know, I was getting it from all these.
Pitch for a movie, by the way.
Yeah. It's, you know, I went like all these different angles. I kind of like posted up across the street on a bench and just watched people who were like walking into like, it is not tourism. If I had been with anyone else on this trip, I would not have been allowed to do this. They would have been like, are you freaking serious? Like, you know, like this is what, like you know, it was an insane thing to do, but it was seriously moving because so I was like trying to follow my Google Maps and I was like biking and in a new city and I couldn't really figure it out. And I thought I was really far away. And at one point I like turned a corner and like in the distance, I could see a giant Nintendo logo on a building. And yeah, no, I audibly gasped. Like I made a sound. I was by myself. I just like made a sound and like stopped in my tracks. And immediately flashed back to like seeing that logo in red on like the cartridge cover of like the first, the first games I was playing, and I was like,
you had that Ratatouille moment.
Yes, totally. Yeah, absolutely. I had the Ratatouille moment. Yeah. I didn't even connect that until just now. Thank you.
So when you're like sitting outside Nintendo HQ and you're just taking like little creeper shots, like do you know, are you having fun, or like what is the emotion of like just being in its presence?
Fun is one way to describe it, certainly. Like, I was laughing at myself, definitely.
Yeah.
Like, the adult in me was like, this is hilarious. Like, it was like, I'll allow it, but this is ridiculous. The kid in me was just like, oh, like, I want to be, and like, I had a lot of time to sort of meditate on the meaning of Nintendo in my life, and also like this new view of it, which is like it's a business, it's like a corporation, like you don't think of it as a corporation because they make delightful art and stuff, but it's like it is a corporation, and I have a very tenuous relationship with corporations. I've worked at like exclusively startups, and then as soon as they become successful and become corporations and I could actually make money off of them, I leave. Because something about corporate life really bothers me. But this was the first time, it was kind of like what happened in college, where I was like, oh, people get together and stick it out working at a corporation because they believe in ultimately the big thing that they're creating together.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I would work at this corporation. Like I would be proud to wear one of those stupid badges on like the zzz, like
if it's got a little red Nintendo logo.
Yeah, if it has a Nintendo logo on it, like
man.
I would do that in a heartbeat.
Oh my god, do you think their badges have like the gold Nintendo seal of approval on it?
Oh my god,
well,
that'd be great.
That'd be so good.
I did not get close enough to any one person.
Well, let's go back.
You weren't out there with your like telephoto lens. Like.
Yeah, but yeah, it was sort of a so when I was outside of the corporate offices, it was like those things, like sort of it was more kind of mental and repositioning like what Nintendo is and what it's meant to me and all that kind of stuff, and also just kind of worrying about someone being like, what are you doing here, like, please please leave. When I was on top of the mountain and I could see it from a distance, and I just like hiked up this beautiful like Japanese temple, I was in a very like holy mode or whatever, because I had just I'd been in this kind of like temple space, and I saw the buildings in the distance, and I like unironically did like the deepest bow I have ever done in my life. And started crying a bit, and I was like, "Thank you for my childhood."
Yeah, and I think that's legit, right? And like tying it all, having that experience in what is both like sort of a religious site and something that's just tied to like what ends up being the collective culture of our childhoods, right? Like I haven't met you before this evening, and we didn't grow up together, but like we have a shared set of memories and a shared set of values because we played these games together. It's like, oh, you're Jewish, I'm Jewish, like there's a culture that we share.
Totally.
Which is, I don't know, it seems so uniquely Nintendo. And I'm just jealous of this moving experience that you had. And it just sounds awesome.
Yeah, it was.
We should go.
Okay,
Mark, let's take the show on the road.
We should go.
If you guys ever want to go, I will go back at any time. That was really the moment. I mean, I had already known that I like wanted to make games, but I kept forgetting, and I had like lost the plot again after coming back from Portugal. I was like living in New York with my ex, and like whatever, working on contracting stuff, and then being out there doing that bow, like thanking these unknown, like this faceless gray box out in the middle of Japan for like this shared culture that we all have now, and this identity. Like that was when I was just like, okay, I know what I need to do. I've been given a gift. I need to give that gift to another generation.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think that's really cool.
Neil, do you have anything that you would like to plug at this time?
Yes.
Obviously, this game coming out tomorrow.
If anyone finds me on the street, you can play the game that's in my phone. I have 24 open test flight seats. If anyone wants to play the game on test flight, I will send it to you. It is fully playable at this point. You can get through the entire Arctic Monkeys One for the Road song, and it counts how many mistakes you made. And Mark has only 70 mistakes, which is pretty unbeatable as far as I can tell. So that is not a real thing that I'm plugging, but there is a real thing that I'm plugging.
Yeah.
If people are in LA, which is the game night that I mentioned, it's lagamenenight.com. If you just go there, there's an email sign up, and we're doing it once a month. The first one is the Monday of Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, great.
Which is coming up fairly soon, about 4 weeks. Or should I not say what?
No, it's coming out Thursday.
Okay,
yeah,
so like
great.
Yeah, we come out pretty quick.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Where are you doing those?
So the first one is at a bar in Hollywood called Scum and Villainy. It's a Star Wars themed cantina bar, and we'll have like 10 rigs set up, and we will also, so if anyone listening to this is an indie developer of any kind, if you do sound, art, anything like that, we'll have a lot of gameplay stuff happening, but we will also be showcasing anyone from the local scene. Well, not anyone, but
someone maybe though.
Yeah, no, definitely some people. And so if you're an indie developer of any, of any, what's the word I'm looking for?
Size
like art
or
no, it's size. Size is explicitly not the word.
You could be tall.
Yeah, if
any discipline.
If people have told discipline. If people have told you you're too tall for games, come to Scum and Villainy. And
then just duck.
Yeah,
just get down a little bit.
Any discipline. We would love to showcase any local developers. We really want to make it a community where. Indie developers are meeting the enthusiasts, because I think there's a real kind of divide between that. And also just have fun and play games. And this is the first monthly one, and if we don't get enough people, we'll probably get kicked out. So please come.
LAGameNight.com?
LAGameNight.com.
All right, awesome. Neil, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This was great. Thank you.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, if you liked this episode, if you enjoyed us talking to Neil, please rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff on Apple Podcasts. We're just a couple reviews away from getting to that 50, which means maybe we end up going to E3 this year. Who knows? I don't know. I can't read the future. If you would like to share our episode either on Facebook or Twitter, we're on Facebook. The page is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Our Twitter handles, I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell. The show is at NinCart Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can check out more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying thanks for listening.
Campfire.